things that I love the most about working inside a Substance Painter is the ability to create textures that are full of layers. Now, I've left my glossy terracotta substance preset applied to the body of my little turtle here to show you a nice visual difference between the two basic types of layers that we can create inside a Substance Painter. The first one, if you notice very carefully, is a little checkerboard icon. This is called a paint layer, and this will allow us to go in and individually customize how and where we want specific color information to end up on our model. Now below it, we also have what's called a fill layer, and I recognize that the icon is very small, and I apologize for that. It's a little paint bucket icon in the lower right-hand corner. The fill layer is going to flood the entire area with this specific color. Let's talk about how we can use both of these to achieve the result that we're after. Now I'm going to get rid of my glossy terracotta layer by selecting it in the backspace key. There we go. And now we're back to the beginning. Let's start with a fill layer, and then we'll work our way up. So these two icons right here inside of our toolbar will tell us and allow us to create each of these layers. We're going to do a fill layer, which, as I mentioned, is going to flood the entire layer with a color or an effect. With the fill layer created, let's just give it a good name. Let's just call this, I don't know, green. You guessed it. I'm going to flood my entire turtle with some green here. This is the default color downstairs. So we create and manage our layers up top, and then in the properties area is where we're going to edit all of our layers. So this is the default color, this kind of gray. And if I wanted to, I can click on this area. This colored bar here under the base color section is going to allow us to go in and change the global color for this fill layer. Remember, we're flooding all of the polygons that are associated with this texture set with this one color. So let's click on it. This is the substance color picker. And let's find a nice green. Maybe make it a little bit darker, something like that. I'll keep it pretty bright for this illustration, much brighter than it normally would. And you can see the effect that it's having. It's going in and it's flooding the entire area with that one color. All of the layers inside a substance and inside a Substance Painter are going to allow us to go in and customize their local channels here to help us craft a very complex result. If you look at the way the specular highlights rolling across the turtle's eye and the nose, we can very easily see the impact of our roughness channel. I got the green fill layer selected, and if I start to change the roughness value, watch what happens to our understanding of the specularity of this object. With it all the way down, now it's looking like a purely reflective object, which is pretty cool. I like that, pretty neat. We can also increase the roughness and begin to blur the reflectivity and make it a little bit more matte, if you will. If we go all the way to a value of 1.0, you can see that it's entirely matte and it's not reflective at all. Almost all of the channels inside of Substance Painter work off of a 0 to 1 scale. This is a limitation that's established by the rendering technology, and it works really well. It doesn't pose too many problems, and it makes it really easy for us to understand how all of this is going to work. Now there it is. There's the roughness down there. Now we don't have any height information at the moment. We'll come back to that here in a minute, but we can start adjusting all of these parameters to create a very complex result. And we're going to go in and add a couple more layers into the mix here to get this working the way we want it to work. Okay, so let's go in and continue adding some new layers. As I mentioned before, there are two basic types. There's the fill layer, which is the paint bucket icon, and then there's the paint layer, which is the paintbrush icon. Let's add in a paintbrush layer. Okay, so now notice that it didn't do anything. Our texture set still remaining where it is. The brush layer, the paint layer, allows us to go in and use our local brush to determine how and where this color is going to show up on our model itself. So as an example only, you can see my cursor has changed to this nice big round square. This is the size of my brush. If you look up at the top here, we're going to see all of our brush properties. This is the brush tool. Okay, this is the paintbrush. And these are all the paintbrush properties. Let's make the size much smaller. A little too small. Just put it at like 4. And now watch what happens. I can go in and I can go and paint on the model itself. Now, where is this color coming from? Well, if we examine the properties down here, check it out. Here is the color we're currently coloring with. Now, we can't go back in with the paint layers and readjust all of this color information very easily, but we can make some changes. Maybe we want certain portions of this to be red. There we go. Now we can go in, maybe we want certain portions to be blue for whatever reason. Whatever we paint, whatever we have selected, and wherever we paint is going to apply that color to the mesh itself. We can go in and customize this and make it look however it is that we want it to look, which is pretty cool. All right, so you can see that it also goes over all of this stuff as well. The paint layers are very much a what you see is what you get world. We have some tools that you should be mindful of when working with paint layers. We have the eraser tool. As one might imagine, this is going to go in and erase those portions of the mesh itself. Okay, there it goes. We also have some smudge tools and some fill tools. I'll let you explore some of these over here. There's even clone stamping, which has its purposes inside a Substance Painter. But the paintbrush icon, this one up here at the top, is going to be the most widely used. Now, the other cool thing about working with layers instead of Substance is that we can use these layers in combination with some really cool presets. Maybe we want to have, I don't know, just some brass, like right here on this side of our object, right there. Well, check it out. I'm going to hit the undo key to get rid of that blue stroke. I'm going to load a preset into the base color area right here. There's two ways you can do this. You can either click on the word base color, which is going to bring open this little popover. I find this to be incredibly confusing and very difficult to use. So here's how I like to use it. If I want to paint with brass, I'm going to grab this preset and drag it onto the word base color. If you notice very carefully, my icon has changed, my cursor icon. It's now got that little green circle with the plus sign on it, and it's going to load that preset into the base color channel. Ta-da! And now I can paint. Now, it's not shiny because we're just taking the color information from the preset. We just loaded it into the color channel. So if I wanted everything, there's the color channel. If I wanted to get the roughness, I'd load the same preset into the roughness if I'd like. And shoot, I can even do it on metallic as well. And now when I paint, now I'm painting with gold, or in this case, brass, which is pretty cool. So we have multiple channels that we get to access. Now, what's neat about this is that maybe we just want to paint a specific channel, right? Maybe we just want to go in and paint some height information. Let's do that real fast. I want to add another paint layer in here. And on this one, let's go into the material area. I don't want to paint with color. I don't want to paint the metallic or the roughness. I just want to paint in some height information. And I have some really wonderful galvanized bump information that could be kind of fun. I also have another preset here that's chainmail. Let's do this. Let's load this in. I want to load it into the material mode up at the top, which is going to grab all of the inputs of this preset and apply it inside of my paintbrush. I don't want color, don't want roughness, don't want metal. I just want the height information that's saved in the normal in the height. And now when I paint it, check it out. Yeah, I'm painting chainmail, or the illusion of chainmail, onto my turtle. Now we have some adjustments in here that we need to make to both our brush and how this texture information is being displayed inside of the layer itself. But the larger point is that we're not painting color, we're painting height information, because we've deactivated the color channel and the height channel, or the color, the roughness, and the metal channel underneath the paintbrush for this specific layer. And that's pretty neat, because now we can go in, just made my brush bigger, and I can create the wonderful illusion of surface relief in the model itself, not affecting the color in any way, which is pretty cool. And this is the power of the layering system inside of Substance Painter. We can layer color, but we can also layer in these other channels. The height channel, the roughness channel, the metal channel, the normal channel. These are all channels that are exposed to us, which gives us a tremendous opportunity to customize how we want our texture set to look at the conclusion of our texturing process.